Hey, welcome to Talking Hawks. We're all about connecting the fans, Hawks fans from all around the world, getting you connected to the club. Let's discuss everything Hawthorn. If you haven't subscribed yet, jump on to our YouTube, Facebook, and the podcast as well, especially Apple Podcast or whoever you're subscribing to. The guys are absolutely lighting it up down on the podcasts, including Mitch. So talking about Mitch, welcome tonight, mate.
Thanks, Chris. Been a while since we've been on a stream together, mate. We had a few last year, but not too many this year. So good to be tonight. Hello to all the Hawks fans joining us live, and going to discuss what was probably for most part a forgettable game against Melbourne, and looking towards some positives this week against what's hopefully going to be a good day against West Coast.
Yes, we can't get too much worse, can it? Yeah, I think the expectation was that we were probably going into the game, and I think you might. Did you say our break even was you're looking about 30-odd points would be a win, but it blew out a little bit more than that, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. But it could have been a lot worse based on what that first half was like. So by the end of the game, it actually wasn't too bad. But yeah, it was. It was at one stage looking like we weren't going to kick maybe a goal or very many at all. So third quarter was pleasing, but yeah, for the most part, we were beaten by a comprehensively better team.
Yeah, credit to Melbourne. They're a pretty handy outfit, and obviously looking at another flag this year. But I guess we just wanted to bounce back from that Freo game, and I don't think we quite seen the effort we're expecting, I guess, from the start of the game. Obviously, there was a good patch in that third quarter, but yeah, I guess there's a lot more negatives to talk about than the positives. But what was your big take out of the game?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Melbourne are probably, they're probably one of the two best sides in the comp at the moment. I think Collingwood and them on current form are the two standouts for me. Won a premiership a couple of years ago. We know how good their side is, and we touched on it last week in the show that it was going to be a hard assignment. And they were number one for inside 50s in the comp. Absolutely blew us away, particularly in that first half. And it could have actually been a lot worse in that first quarter. They actually didn't kick straight and didn't really take advantage until sort of later on in the quarter. And then again in the second, it could have got out of hand really, really quickly. But as a standout, probably Seamus Mitchell for me. Definitely had his breakout game, and Shooter's just come in with perfect timing there. He was very good. Did get voted the fan MVP for on the Hawthorn website, so that was good. And look, we know we've struggled in third quarters this year, and at least we did respond in that third quarter, which we haven't done at all this year. We're the worst third quarter side in the comp quite comfortably, but it was good to see that little flurry, whether that's, Melbourne stepping off a little bit or, us taking over. You got to give credit to the boys for how they responded, because we were getting comprehensively beaten in every facet of the game. And it almost seemed in that first half that we were going out of our way to kick it to them and turn it over. And geez, it was very bad football.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I guess it changes the dynamic when Ned Reeves comes out sort of last minute. And credit to Lloyd Meek. I thought he put up a pretty bold performance against Gawn and Grundy. But still, even with the engine room doing okay, we just struggled in all facets, really, all around the ground. Just the pressure, lack of pressure, or better pressure by Melbourne, and catching us out of position. We just never seemed really well set up at any point until sort of after halftime when we had a good little period.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on Meek, because I thought he did excellent as well. Obviously, Reeves, as the laid out, was not ideal for him in taking on the best ruck combination in the comp in Gaundy, I think is what most people are referring to. So I think he did a good job, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think we did roughly sort of square it out in the middle, which has been a trend this year. Obviously, Cozzy coming in late for Reeves is quite the, I guess, a mismatch in terms of him, Cozzy going up against, Gawn and Grundy. So Meek did fantastic. And like we said, just the turnovers in that first quarter. And Interesting. You touched on the pressure. Melbourne's pressure was literally, I think at one stage it was like 220 or something on that
off the charts.
pressure rating, which is like ridiculously elite.
Yep.
And ours was like 188, 189, which actually is like sort of just on the above average side. It was sort of just shy of pretty good. So it was interesting to see that our pressure was probably not so bad. It was just that theirs was so much better. And every time we got the ball, it was just like they either forced a turnover or we got some clear air and then we made it a really poor skill error and turned it over anyway. And when you do that against a quality side like Melbourne, they're going to make you pay. And they certainly did that.
Yes, yep. No, there's wasn't too many more positives to take out of the game, was there? I guess we will discuss a few of the big positives.
Con's pointing out a great touch there. 40% disposal efficiency to halftime.
Okay, that's a big stat. I didn't realise it was that bad. Yeah, wow.
I think the average is about 70-odd%, for disposal efficiency. That is well below where you want to be. And for an AFL side, let's not pull any punches. That's not acceptable. You got to be doing better than that. We know they're young. We know we're going through a rebuild, but you got to get the basics right. And 47% efficiency is you're not winning any game of football. And if we do that this week, West Coast will probably beat us as well.
I think the problem is once their game sort of trends in that direction, like you said, their pressure was elite from the start. You're on the back foot, and then because you're burning so much energy and effort trying to defend, that you lose that momentum attacking. So, and we just weren't able to transition that good enough or quickly enough, and then it caused another turnover, and then you're defending again. So it's a hard one to, I guess, change that momentum of the game and try to gain control.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And it was always going to be a tough ask, with Melbourne. We've obviously touched on they're a great side, and yeah, look, we like to be glass half full here at Talking Horse. We do like to focus on the positives, but as we've mentioned, when you're making very basic errors like we were, it's hard to focus too much on the positives. I do want to mention Weddle. Nick's just bring up he kicked his first goal, I believe, on the weekend. Someone kicked. I can't remember who was the other player. It was literally back to back. They kicked their first goal.
It was Frenchie. Was it Frenchie as well?
It was a hand potentially. I know it was back to back. Give us a hand, fans. I've gone blank. If you remember who that was, because it was Weddle. It was in that third quarter.
In that run of 5 goals.
Really good to see. And Mackenzie there, yeah. Thank you, Con. Come to the party as always, mate. Maddie's helping us out too. Interesting. We'll probably get into this a little bit later when we talk about selection for West Coast, but Mac, I do agree with you. We will talk about that in the next 10 or so minutes. Any more positives, Chris? Obviously, when you lose, what was the final margin in the end? It was 10 goals or so, wasn't it? I think
54 points. It was 49 to 103. And like I said, that 5 goals in 10-minute burst, which shows we've got the ability, but the consistency is where it's lacking. So, yeah, we scored 30 of our 49 points in 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it was a short 10 minutes, wasn't it? But
it was. It was an exciting 10 minutes, and it sort of lifted the spirits a little bit. It was exciting, but and then it quickly drowned out again.
Interesting. Just seeing a post from Craig here. CJ, I believe he started on the wing, which I was actually really, really pleased to see. I watched last week's show. Maddie asked me point blank if I thought that CJ was in our best defensive six, and I said pretty much no. Didn't offer too much of an explanation.
No, I like that when you up front said no. You just said no.
I just didn't think he is. I think he's certainly. I'm not prepared to say that he's like he can't be part of that defensive six, but at the moment, no, I don't think he is. I thought he was okay on a wing. I did have some question marks last week about if he uses the ball well enough to play on the wing, because that's half my issue with him coming out of the defensive 50, and the way he plays, you sort of need to use the ball well, because if you're getting a lot of run and dash and carry off half back, you need to follow up, because if you're just turning it over, then obviously you're out of position to defend, and then it puts the defense under pressure as well. So I don't necessarily think it's a tick for him on the wing. I think he might want to potentially go back to Box Hill, maybe just get a little bit more confidence. we have this conversation every week, mate. We can't send everyone back to Box Hill, and you've got to pull a few people out. And I am a big believer of keeping the same team, or as close as you can to the same team. Con's come in with Scrimmer again there. We know he's a great user of the ball, and we will get into Scrimmer later because I completely agree. Jesse's gone that CJ's had some positive glimpses along the wing, so I do agree. I think he's probably a little bit better suited there to coming off the coming out of the defense, but I don't know. I think he needs some work and maybe go back to Box Hill and put him on a wing and just see how he goes. But my biggest thing with him is how he uses the footy.
Yeah, not sure if the other teams have worked him out and sort of, trying to negate his strength and his run and carry. And if he doesn't have that, then what has he got? Obviously, he's still got his intercept marking and the rest of it. But it's like, if they're really putting an emphasis on stopping him bursting and running, he's just got to find another way around it, whether he gives it and gets it back. But yeah, so that was, I guess, but he's done a calf anyway. So we'll touch on the injuries later, but so he's going to miss a week minimum. Somebody else will have to come in to replace him. Yeah,
he won't be playing this week. So we'll see what happens there. A lot of Scrimmer comments. We'll get into Scrimmer because I think once we sort of work out who's coming in this week, I think he's got to be in the conversation. I think to answer your question, Mark, I think Scrimmer has been a little bit underdone. He's got like a niggling toe injury. I can't remember exactly the term for it.
Turf toe.
Turf toe, that's the one. So it can affect sort of how you push off your foot, and Mitchell just hasn't wanted to. That's why he's been a sub a couple of times. So I would think that he's not too far away. I want him in the side. I think he's a really good user of the footy. We'll get into that a bit later.
So we'll just touch on. Sorry, I'll skip you there. I'll jump into Kerry's comment about Bramble, and I agree with that. I thought Bramble was one of the better performers on the day. So, and he's been a little bit stiff. I guess he comes in, does a pretty good job, and then occasionally goes out when he hasn't necessarily been the worst in the squad. So hopefully he can get a little bit more consistency and opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought he was good. I think he came on, didn't he? He was the medical sub, and he came on for Blank, and unfortunately injured again, mate. So we hope that his recovery goes well. I think it was a hamstring, wasn't it? I don't think it was as bad as
Corky to the quad. Okay. Yeah. So whether that's a potential to come back in, if it's bad enough Cork to go out, he might be out for a game potentially.
Yeah, okay. Fred's asked, what does Morrison bring to the team? He's playing on the wing opposite Amon. A little bit like CJ, he doesn't use the ball the best. I'm trying to remember Smithy's player review dropped on Monday, and he did comment on that. He's using the ball, doesn't use the ball the best, had 7 turnovers or something of that nature. It wasn't great. And that's his biggest weakness is the way he used the ball. So I do like a lot of what Morrison brings, but you got to be able to use the ball well and do the basics well. And he's definitely one that I've been seeing a lot of Hawks fans in groups and on our forums talking Hawks and whatnot. He's not using the ball the best, and he's certainly had a few people go after him, mate. Is he spot in any danger for you? Or
look, I'm on the other side of the coin, I guess. I can see the upside of him, and I think he's got that position because he does cover so much ground. He pushes deep in defence. He does push all the way up to the attack and getting the inside 50s. But yes, I guess he's slightly improved his defensive efforts, I think, and his tackling has improved a fraction. But yeah, if he goes out, who's going to play wing? We just trialled CJ. Who's next on that list? I think Ward's also out with his foot injury. What did I forget? What they bone overload is what they referred to it as, which is his fourth metatarsal. And if that turns into a hot spot, that could turn into a long-term injury. So they need to really manage that carefully. Without Ward there, I don't know who's your next option on a wing. Or maybe Bramble, potentially?
Potentially Bramble. He's showing enough. It's a tough one, isn't it? We've got a few players that look like they could play the role. But again, I really like, you got to have a good user on the wing for me. And there's not really a whole lot that stand out too much. Yeah, don't know. Sam back at the club tomorrow. Interesting. We didn't touch on this, but he has tested positive for COVID. It looks like he will potentially still get the coach this week. I think he's back at the club tomorrow, and they're going to see how we go.
Yep, fair comment there. Cooper Stevens has been knocking down the door, and I think we discussed it in our group chat that it's the only spot available on the ground that's you can't get into. The midfield's actually been really performing, and I don't know if he's got another string to his bow, whether he can push off a forward or a back flank, but probably be a forward flank, really. But yeah, no, I think he'll get his opportunity soon.
Cody's come out to help us out for who's could potentially play on a wing, and Jay's also on as well. Could Morey go? He does look a little bit down on confidence. We know when he spent a little bit of time throughout the middle last year, he was definitely one of our best players. Is he a potential to fill that role and maybe just change it up a bit? Obviously, he's not going to get into that sort of midfield brigade, the on-ball brigade, because we're doing well there. But you could put him on a wing.
No, I like it. Get him into the game. I think it's not through lack of effort, and especially what was the 41 forward inside 50 entries. So I guess if he's not seeing enough of the ball, I don't mind giving it a go. Yeah,
he's certainly not at his best form, is he, Fred? He's been below what we expected of him after such a good year last year. But for me, he's spot in the side. He's absolutely safe. We wouldn't have been looking at him, but yeah, he does look a little bit down on confidence, and I'm hoping he can bounce back this weekend in the next few weeks. Kerry's touched on Brockman as well. We forgot about him, that he was out last week suspended. He should come back in. I do agree. He's been okay. I know you like Brocky, Chris. What have you thought of his year so far in the games that he's played?
Oh yeah, the breakout game where he kicked his 3 goals, and but then he's sort of, I think he had one quiet game after that where he had just a handful of disposals. But I think he's just got to play. I think he's a long-term project, and I don't want him coming in and out. I just want him to keep that spot and gain that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's pretty well straight back into the side for me. We'll go on to selection in terms of the West Coast game. So we've talked about Brocky. I think he's straight in. Does Wingard come out? We know that a lot of fans have been going pretty hard at Wingard. He has looked a little bit disinterested at times, defensively not doing a lot, and hasn't really been hitting the scoreboard a lot. Do we potentially move him out for Brocky? We've obviously got to make a spot. So what do we think?
I guess we've got Blank out, CJ out for starters, and Ned Reeves, I think, trained. So he's definitely likely to return as well. So
Cozzy out for Reeves, you would think. Cozzy was only really in because of the late out. So Cozzy out, Reeves in is an easy one.
Yep. Blank missing. Almost you need another big body to come in. That might be a Denver, potentially. Is there anyone else you think can fill that void?
Not off the top of my head. I think Denver's probably the one that stands out. I'm probably forgetting someone. Yeah,
Weddle's good, pretty tall, so they could just play Weddle as that third tall with Sicily and Frost effectively, and go with 3 smaller defenders.
Yeah, they could. Obviously, West Coast are struggling to even get a team on the park at the moment, so this might be a chance to maybe do change a couple of things around and try a few different things. Not that we want to take the match lightly at all. Don't like the idea that this is the Harley Red Cup and we don't want to win, and you still want to win the games. And there's this is definitely a winnable one.
Yeah, no, it sort of crossed my mind when the Sam Mitchell contracted COVID. I'm like, oh, here we go. Is he not going to coach? And there's another excuse to not perform. But yeah, I'm glad that he sounds like he's going to be available.
Yeah, I think he should be. It's going to be touch and go. But I mean, these days, the coaching brigade's pretty well oiled, where you can. If someone's not there on the day, someone else steps up. Weddle to a wing, Morrison out. Potentially, I have seen this quite a bit, Chris, with Morrison. Everyone's sort of coming at Morrison hard, like I said before. I mean, we've sort of already touched on him, but Weddle would be okay on wing. I think. I don't know if Morrison should be out of the side entirely, but the one that I want to see come in is we've talked on him a little bit is Scrimshaw. That's who I want to see come in. I know he's not quite 100%, but uses the ball well. Is 100% in my best back six. I would really like to see him come in.
Yeah, he definitely balances our back line, I think, and brings a lot of calm. Whether that's just due to his poise and ability to hit targets consistently, that just builds the confidence in the players around him. But Fergus, there we go. Good call on Fergus. Why was he dropped in the first place? I can't even remember.
That is a good question, and I'm struggling to remember as well. Was he dropped or was he injured?
Ooh. Yeah, if you're testing me now, I'm sure the fans will be quick on.
Fans will come to our age. Fans will come to our aid here. Fergus Grant, I can't remember, but I've really liked him this year.
He's been amazing.
I think he probably should be in the conversation to come pretty much straight back in. Think dropped. He hasn't done a lot wrong. And look, to be honest, in the forward line at the moment, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard the way it's coming in.
I think dropped as well, and I was a bit surprised because Box Hill didn't have a game, and I thought, that's maybe unless he's carrying a few niggling injuries, and they just didn't want to sort of, expose what injuries they may be, possibly.
And a good comment from Mac here. Fergus should be playing alongside Lewis. Did a good job while Lewis was still out, and now that Lewis is back in, obviously Lewis gets the best defender, which maybe will help Fergus as well. I just love how he attacks the footy. He's got a really good attitude, and he's relatively big, but not the biggest key forward by any means. But attacks the ball, goes at it, and at least gives the other forwards a chance. Makes every contest, and I do agree, Chris, that he was a bit stiff. So potentially him straight back in. This is the thing, mate. When you're sitting 18th, we have these discussions every week. The depth is actually not that bad, really. There's probably a few players running around that are potentially sort of on that fringe of whether they're, going to be a real lock in the side or whether they're going to float in and out. But I don't think the depth is really an option. It's just the depth is really an issue. It's more just finding out what's the best combination.
Yep. Yeah, no, it makes it hard because we just haven't quite got it right. But I think they just need to keep experimenting without changing too much, I guess. Talking about players available, Jai Sarong has been cleared to play after his pericarditis diagnosis. So I think they've just said he's just done 2 full weeks of training. But I'll expect him to return via the VFL. But that's exciting to have him available again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a big scare, wasn't it, when they diagnosed him with that? Yeah, 6 weeks or so ago. I remember reading that, and that was no good for the young fella. So it's good to see that he's been cleared to return, and yeah, I would imagine that he'll return back through Box Hill, and hopefully he gets a game this weekend. And while we've on that, mate, I will say that the Box Hill we're playing Southport Saturday at 12:05. It's a home game, Box Hill City Oval.
Cool. Get down and support the boys if you can. Been down there a few times, and it makes a difference watching at the ground compared to on the TV, that's for sure.
Kerry's just made a very good point because I completely forgot that this is, I think it's the first of 2 or 3 weeks of the Indigenous round, which is fantastic. And Kerry, you're on the ball tonight. You've made a very good point because I don't think he would be very happy at all. And if you haven't seen the Indigenous Guernsey, go and check it out. I believe it's designed by Jarman Impey, and it is a ripper.
Yep. No, they've done a very good job with the jerseys. So we've been waiting for them to pull out a bad one, and they just keep producing the goods.
Yeah, they certainly do. Shooters agreeing with us here when we're talking about the depth. I agree, mate. We've the young talent is there, and hopefully only going to get more by these next few years of the rebuild. But it's just finding out what works. And like I said before, I don't love when we drop too many players each week, and I don't like a lot of changes. But you obviously need to hold people accountable as well. So Max come in saying make Chad the sub potentially. Don't know. What are your thoughts, Chris?
I do like it because he can be quite explosive and he can impact the game when he's on fire. So it's probably not a bad move, but again, that puts us in the predicament of what we do with Scrimshaw. And I think he'd been predominantly holding that sub role purely down to his turf toe and his limited ability to play a full game. So if I don't know that they would even bother playing Scrimshaw at a VFL if he's not going to play AFL, and just to give that toe a rest and try and recover properly.
Yeah, agreed. I've seen a lot of this over the last 4 weeks or so, moving Sicily forward and Denver down back. What do we think? We know Sis loves a goal. What do you reckon? Do we entertain it?
Oh, Daz would be pulling his hair out because he knows how much I love saying yes, Sicily forward. But it's probably got to be a permanent move. You don't want it just to be a quick fix. If he's going to play forward, you want it to be a permanent thing. And maybe depends on what happens through the draft. But I guess it doesn't really solve the problem, does it? Because then you're leaving another hole down back.
Yeah, he's our best defender and he's the leader of the back six down there as well as the team. It's hard. We know he can play forward. He's got the ability to do that, but putting him forward means you take him out of the back line, obviously. So it's a tough call to make. It's not one that I don't think I'd make it if I was, making the decisions, but it's definitely worth some thought. But I just think you're trading off a few things by moving him forward, and he creates I think Daz come out with that stat last week. We mentioned it, that from his kick-ins, he creates like 49.1% or something of our inside 50s from the back half. So it's tough to move him out of there, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a massive stat. And yeah, to lose that, I don't think it's worthwhile. If the game's in the balance, I don't mind changing it up for a pinch hit and try to, when the game's on the line, go all out. But yeah, probably a no just at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. What have we got, mate? Does fans got any questions you want to put some forward for some selections? Do we want to get into tips, mate? What's the go?
Yeah, we're probably running a bit light for content this week. But yeah,
last week, so it's a bit hard when you're trying to pick, guys to come into the team. Surely we can get a win this week, mate. West Coast have got, I counted it before we came on, they've got 18 players on their injury list. That's literally nearly a full side. I really do feel sorry for them. But, if you're looking at games, the rest of the opponents that we've got for the year, this is definitely one that you look at and go, okay, this is a winnable game. If we don't win this one, I'm not looking at too many more throughout the year that I'm being willing to say, yep, we'll win this. I think we've got North again, and that's, that's about it.
Yeah, I did. Matt sent me through a stat earlier that he'd come across. I think it was total games played by the entire Hawthorn list is 2,039, and the Eagles is 1982. So it just shows the lack of games in the players at the moment. So it's pretty evenly matched as far as the young players out on the park, and but still, like, they're a lot more crippled than we are due to injury. So it should be, play to our favour. It's not a game that's going to look good, especially at home down in Tassie. The Harley Reid thing, I don't really want to go there. When the time comes, if we get pick one, great. He may not even be the candidate, to be honest. So, but as far as building confidence and belief within the players, I think this is a game we want to win and should win.
Yeah, agree. And I'm of the same belief, mate. And in terms of the Harley Reid, number one draft pick, we know everyone talks about it. Even the AFL media were popping up graphics during the week, the race for Harley Reid, the Harley Reid Cup, they're calling it. They've got West Coast draw, North draw, and our draw. I'm just let the kid play footy. If he's going to go pick one, whoever that goes, good on him. But at the end of the day, we got to win games of footy, and as good a kid this seems, as good as he seems, I don't think it's gonna change too much if we miss him. Daz is all over the draft, and he will probably put out some content as well soon with us. A couple of steals that aren't Harley Reid that we may target that are a bit more gettable in the draft.
I think Sean here is referring to the mid-season draft, which does change things up a bit if we can get a decent player in the mid-season draft and blood them early, I guess. Does change the forward dynamic a bit, especially if Cozzy isn't quite producing the goods when he gets up to the top level.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen a couple of tips roll in. Hawks fans, give us your tips if you have them. I think I've got one here. Cody, Hawks by 40. Connor's got the same opinion, which is good. I think the line was like 22.5. I would be probably leaving that alone just in case they do give us a scare. But yeah, look, I think that we will. We're hard to beat not as hard to beat as we used to be in Tassie, but we do know we have a very, very good record in Tassie, and I don't see that changing. West Coast are decimated. If they had a few more players available, I don't know how confident I would be. But yeah, I'm tipping us to win. What do we reckon, mate? You're going to back us in?
I think so. I think it's hard not to. West Coast, like we said, really struggling with injury and performance. So it'd be pretty hard to tip against the Hawks without, too much major confidence and biasness. But I guess it comes down to, like we said about Melbourne, what's a pass mark as far as the result? If you're calling a win, I'm probably wanting. Oh, you talked about the line. I was going to say 20 points plus would be a win in that sense. If we lose, say if we win by 10 points, it's not a great performance, really.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, Jay's gone. Sicily 6 nags from the back line. Wouldn't mind him saying kick a couple. I don't know if he's going to get 6, but if he's doing that, Jay, we're on our way to a pretty good win. Chris could not tip West Coast. I would hope not, mate. We would hope that most Hawks fans are tipping us this week. I understand that you got to tip with your head sometimes, but I'm sure this week we can probably agree that we are the safe bet. Probably might be the only time we've gone into a game favourites. Maybe against North. Actually, no, we weren't against North because they were 2-0 when we played them. So, who do we want to see a big game from this week, mate? Mitchy Lewis has had a couple of games back now. Looks like he's ready to break the game open. Didn't have the best time of it last week, but obviously he couldn't help that with how the ball's entering. Do we think he's going to kick a bag, mate, or you got someone else?
Probably the one I'm looking at he's not necessarily bad, but Frenchie, I think he's just trying to find his feet. And like we said, his ball use is amazing. So, yeah, Cam McKenzie, like I said, he dominated, went down to VFL and I think played 2 games back-to-back, 30-plus disposals in the midfield. And it seems like he comes up to us, and I don't expect him to get the same game time in the midfield. But, yeah, I think just that breakout game from him would be awesome. Like I said, he got the monkey off the back and kicked his first goal last week. So hopefully he can sort of get a bit of a boost out of that and sort of hit the mid-20s, 20-plus disposals and maybe kick another goal. I'd be pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a few comments rolling in for Butler, who I think's been good in the time that he's been given this year. Will be good to see him out there this week. Mitchell, 30-plus disposals, 1 goal, 10 rebounds. Oh, that'll be a huge game, mate. And if he does that, he's going to have back-to-back MVPs. I can guarantee you that. If that's the stat line.
Yeah, he's gotten better each week, and yeah, I guess that expectation of he set the bar pretty high, isn't he? 5 games in.
He has. Con's just asked a good, interesting question. I do like this because when the Hawks were at their might of their power 10 years ago now, I can't believe it's been that long since the three-peat started, but we've got an insane stat that when we kick over 100 points, we virtually don't lose the game.
Yep.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that stat, I think we've had one loss, and I think it was the Tom Hawkins goal after the siren when we kicked over 100 points and we lost the game. But I mean, we've talked about West Coast that they're quite ravaged in terms of their injury list. You would think that if we're going to score over 100, it might be this week. Tassie can be a bit of a nightmare to kick goals because it does get quite blowy down there. But if, it's going to be a week, this might be the week. And hopefully we see, a couple of the forwards get a bit better service from the midfield and go on our way to kick a winning score, mate.
Yeah, I think so. And, just get the media, stop talking about Hawthorn and this Harley Reid Cup. Just heard enough of it. Yeah, let's just go out there, get the win. But while I think of a margin, and besides Frenchie, who have you got for your margin and your BOG, mate?
Well, I went with Lewis to kick 5 in a losing game last week and didn't get near it. Was probably more ambitious last week. So I'm going to back him again and say that he's just going to have a little bit of an easier time of it this week. And I'll back him to kick 5 again. I'm going to say Hawks by 45 points in a comfortable win that we just sort of keep gradually building the lead throughout the day, mate. I'm certainly going to be very annoyed if we don't win the game, put it that way.
Yep, love it, mate, love it. I'm probably not quite that ambitious. I think I'll go with a safer margin of Hawks by 25. I think Brewsty can get on the scoreboard this week on just 3 goals, I think. And I reckon Will Day for 30 plus.
Yeah, continuing a really strong season so far, mate. He's just been the shining light of what's been quite a disappointing season so far. The midfield brigade has been good. Day's been awesome. Connor Nash, we didn't actually talk about. He was a little bit quiet last week, but he's going exceptional. He's leading Smithy's player reviews in terms of how many stars he's gathered throughout the year. And we did actually put a graphic up. Daz made a very nice graphic about Connor Nash, and he put that up. I think it was today actually that it came up, or maybe yesterday. So check that out. If we lose, we'll need a 2-hour podcast. Thanks for reminding me about the podcast, guys, because I believe he's got Butler coming on this week. I think that's dropping maybe tomorrow or Friday. I'm not certain on that, but I'm pretty sure it's Butler that's coming on this week. So check that out. If you want to go back and listen to the 6 points of the Melbourne game, please go do that and check that out. And we'll also have opposition analysis dropping in the next day or two, which we'll look at the West Coast game. Not sure who's on deck for that, but I'm sure whoever is will do an amazing job as always, mate.
Yeah, they'll do a little bit more research than us and get to the final points of why we are going to win.
Absolutely, mate. Any last closing comments from you, mate, or are we ready to wrap it up, fans? If you got anything to say, chuck it in the comments now, because I think we are about ready to sign off, guys.
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much covered it. Covered the podcast. Another shout out for the player sponsor. Jump over to talkinghawks.com, jump onto the player sponsor link and join in. I think we will have Denver and Jai on for a closed Zoom session. I'm not sure when the date's going to be booked in, but that will be coming up soon. So if you are interested in getting involved and asking them questions face-to-face, getting a proper answer, a genuine answer, not one that they just shout to the media. It's one they'll answer honestly because, that's what they're like. They're just good characters and it's good fun. So if you want to be part of that, jump across to talkinghawks.com and find the player sponsor link.
Absolutely. Great experience. And if you haven't done so, check that out because some of the experience you get with that are really cool and something that is definitely not something to miss.
I think there are some lounge tickets to one of the games coming up soon as well. So I'll get the details on that in one of the following episodes, and let you guys know. But I think that's just about it, mate. Hopefully 2 wins this weekend from Box Hill and Hawks.
Absolutely, mate. Thanks for joining us tonight, wherever you're watching. And go Hawks. Let's hope that we're in a much better mood for next week's live stream.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Catch you next week.